Hello everyone. I realize that working with GitHub is something that is new to you, and it might seem very foreign. So I wanted to actually walk through the entire process. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing both as your instructor, but also I have a sample account set up on GitHub as a student, so I will show you what I'm expecting you to do with GitHub. So here I am looking at my GitHub classrooms and GDEV242, object-oriented programming. So let me make a version of myself as a student in here. And it looks like I already am there as RVCC sample student. I'm going to remove that connection. I'll have to clean that up later. Reminder to self. And let me update students. And Crosbie sample student, add roster entries. Okay, so if I come in here and take a peek, Crosbie sample student down there at the bottom so that I'm not in the way for anyone else. Sometimes using special characters to make this work is important. Also, this will help those of you that are having difficulty linking your accounts, and maybe I will do a special office hours. I don't think I can actually, but I do have office hours coming up on Wednesday afternoon, so we should be able to get you linked up at that time. Okay, so I exist here as a sample student. Let me log in. Well, actually, I don't even need to log in to Canvas, but what you would ordinarily do is there would be a link on the page. You know what? I should do this as you're going to do this. Let me log in, rvcc.instructure.com. Forgot my password. Remembered my password. So if I go under courses, come to GDEV242, and I am going to look at this as student view. So this is what I get to see what you're seeing here, mostly. So, topics for week 1, here we go, week 1 lecture, link to week 1 GitHub classroom invitation, and then GitHub organization. So, link to the GitHub classroom organization. I click on that link, and it shows me all of the possible names. Now, I just realized I did something unintentional here. I forgot that as a student, I don't want to be in the same web browser from which I'm behaving as your faculty. So I am going to close this tab and close this tab on Instructure. I'm going to come over to my Firefox tab, and from here I'm going to pretend to be a student. So let's try this again, rvcc.instructure.com, and clean that up because that's not the way you spell instructure. Log in again, this time remembering my password. Don't save. Go to my course for object-oriented programming. Look at this in student view. Okay, now it doesn't think that I'm me. If you're on, so that's just for my purposes. So I had to back out, but don't worry. I click to the classroom invitation. Firefox is preventing this from opening a new window. I am going to allow pop-ups. Okay, so GitHub Classroom wants to access my Crosbie student account. I want to authorize GitHub Classroom to access my Crosbie student account. Now, I can see that my icon is as my student icon here. And so now I'm going to link this classroom to my GitHub profile. So I say yes, Crosby sample student. Are you sure you want to select the identifier Crosby sample student? It doesn't know who you really are. Please choose your real name. It becomes a royal pain in the neck on my side to clean this up. So I will click OK. Now, my account is linked to Crosby sample student on the roster. If you make a mistake, just reach out to me. I realize accidents happen. Once you accept this assignment, you'll be granted access to Chapter 1 House Crosby Student Repository on GDEV242 Fall 20 Organization. I'm going to accept this assignment. It's going to create a copy of the house project for me. And it takes a little while. Okay, I'm ready to go. My assignment repository has been created. So if I go and look at this URL, github.com/GDEV242-fall20 or fa20, Chapter 1 House, and then Crosby-Crosby-student, that's going to show me the project that has been handed off to me to complete. If I ever forget where that URL is, if I go to the GitHub Classroom and I look at assignments, and in this case I am in Chrome, so because I'm the instructor, I can see everything. I'm going to go back over to my student window because I don't want you to think that you're going to have to find your name in a huge list. So, in this instance, let me log into classroom.github.com. And I accept the authorization. Welcome to GitHub Classroom. I can create a classroom, but I don't want to do that. I want to actually go to my classroom. Oh, I guess that go to the classrooms that I own. Maybe I should not have accepted that. Anyway, it knows where I can go. I will clean that up in a moment. Okay, so I'm sitting here inside of the GitHub repository for Chapter 1 House in my particular copy of it. So yours would be Chapter 1 House, your GitHub username. Now, this means that we're getting all of these Java files, the triangle, the square, the picture, the person, the circle, the canvas. And I'm going to have to clone these down to my local hard drive and then do something interesting with them. So, reminder to self, edit out the sneeze. We're going to need to clone these down to my local hard drive and do something interesting with them. I'm going to come to the code button. From the drop down, it says, do I want to open in GitHubDesktop or download a zip? Now I know that you might want to really download a zip file, but you don't want to do that. Downloading a zip takes a snapshot, and then it loses the connection back up to GitHub. We actually need to use GitHubDesktop because GitHubDesktop is going to manage the communication back and forth between your local hard drive and the web server. So, open with GitHubDesktop. It might take you to this page to install desktop if it's not installed. I do have desktop installed, so I'm not certain why it didn't handle that handoff. Let me try opening GitHubDesktop. There it is. And let me make sure that in GitHubDesktop I am a student. Let me sign into this account. Too many usernames and passwords here. Okay, so it recognizes me. It sees that I am Crosby student. I am signed in. So I'm going to try to do that clone again. And it might be that I'm doing this inside of Firefox. I'm going to, so ordinarily, clicking clone would communicate to GitHubDesktop on your local system, and then open that up and begin the process of transferring the files. Because I have this account here, I'm instead going to choose Add Clone Repository. Now, notice, because I'm logged into GitHub, it's like, oh, you're part of the GDEV242 Fall 20 organization, and this is the one repository that I can see for you. So instead of going from the server and pushing down, I'm on my local system, I'm going to reach up and grab it. So let me clone that. Then I want to figure out where do I want to put this file. So in my Documents folder, there's a folder named GitHub. And inside of GitHub, there's a folder named 2020-09 Demo. So September of 2020 Demo folder, that sounds pretty good. So I will put it there. I will clone this, and then it pulled all of those files down, and it's now sitting on my local hard drive. Now I can do something interesting with it. So choosing this as my repository, I can see that there have been no changes since I downloaded it. If I look at the history, there's some previous commits. So when the project was first put onto GitHub or established, after a small change where the chain color of the house was turned to blue, and then establishing this on GitHub Classroom created 2 other pieces. I'm going to open up a Finder window. I'm going to go to my GitHub folder. I somehow managed to miss putting it in the appropriate folder. Well, that's unfortunate. So if I go back to my repository list and right-click and reveal in Finder, I can see that it's just at the GitHub level, not in the demo folder. I'm going to clean this up. I'm just going to show you that things can get, they can get broken and then fixed. So because I really wanted this folder to be inside of here, I'm going to take this folder, I'm going to move it so that it's inside that folder. As soon as I do that, GitHubDesktop's like, where did you go? I can't find that. But I can go ahead and click Locate, go into my demo folder, point to the folder that has my repository, and reestablish that connection. So don't worry. Well, maybe you should worry. Try to put things where you want them the first go around. You can probably figure out a way to put it back to another location, but, and this is the really important thing, I usually help students by looking over their shoulder to solve this. So it would require scheduling time and office hours to come meet with me and sharing your screen so I could try to help you resolve things if you're unable to resolve them on your own. It's really largely just paying attention to details. Now that it's where I want it to be, I'm going to go into my demo folder, go into the project folder. If I double click on the BlueJ icon, the application bluej.app can't be opened. This is the worst thing to happen in a video. Well, maybe not the worst thing, but let me go ahead and launch my BlueJ app. And here it comes. Okay, so here's BlueJ. Let me come up to my project, open project, and I'm going to look at my GitHub at the demo folder and make sure that I'm working inside of the folder that was cloned. So I'm going to open this. BlueJ is going to churn on this for a little bit. And now I have all of these files here. Now, The purpose of the assignment is to change the picture. So let's just see what happens. If I compile this project, and if I make a new picture object, and I ask that picture to draw itself, the picture shows up as this blue house with a window with a green triangle and a yellow sun. There are two other things inside of here. We can tell that picture draw yourself in black and white. We can tell that picture draw yourself by setting color. And because the initial draw set it at blue, but the code was not changed to reflect that in the set color, when we go from black and white back to color, the color of the house is changed. So if you look at the picture code, you might be able to figure out why that is. I'm going to reset my Java virtual machine. I can reset the Java virtual machine by clicking this little arrow right here, and that closes all of the things on the workbench and any other windows that were opened by my project. So if I go into my picture class, let's make a quick change and then see how that affects things in GitHub. One of the things I want you to do with all of your assignments is to make sure you have proper header comments. So let's see, this class represents a simple picture. You can draw the picture using the draw method. That part is all the same. Set it to black and white and back to color. Okay, also the same. But we're going to modify author and version. So this is my version of the picture, being done on 2020-09-06, let's say, since that's when this recording is being made. And I'm not going to make any other changes to the picture just yet, but I want to save this. And now I'm going to move over to GitHub Desktop window. And notice GitHub Desktop was looking at my files and said, wait a second, there's been a change to picture.java. These lines in pink have been removed. These lines in green have been added. And this is what Git as a tool does. It is source control management, SCM software. It looks at a folder and notes changes that happen in it. Now, if I want to record this change, I need to come down here to commit to master. And it's given me a default name, update picture.java, which is why this button is active. Usually this button will be slightly grayed out. It's going to expect you to describe what change happened. So I'm going to call this update author and commit this to master. Now, when I commit, the changes disappear. They don't disappear from the file. What's happening is in the history, I can see that, oh, we've had these different things, and now we have updated the author as well. Okay, that's interesting. Now, if we look at the picture, we have a number of objects. There's an object of type square, which is the wall, an object of type square, which is the window, an object of type triangle, which is the roof, an object of type circle, which is the sun, a variable of type boolean named drawn. These are the fields, the class variables, the instance variables, I should say, of this class. When we make a new picture, it makes the square object, it puts it into wall, it makes a square object and puts it into window, it makes a triangle object and puts it into roof, it makes a circle object and puts it into the variable sun, and it sets the drawn variable to false. So that's when we say make a new picture, please. And then when we choose to invoke the draw method, drawn, remember, is boolean, set to false. So if we haven't drawn it already, if drawn is false, not false is true, because there's the not indicator, so then we need to change some settings for the wall object, and change some settings for the window object, and change some settings for the roof object, and change some settings for the sun object, and then we say, okay, we are already drawn. So that if we try to draw again, and we come back up, drawn is true, not true is false, Let me just skip all over that and then just leave without doing all the work again. And then set black and white tells those objects to change their colors. Set color tells those objects to change those colors. And that's really the extent right now of the picture object. What I need you to do is come up with a small picture that you would like to draw. So maybe I want a dartboard. That would be, several circles. So I'm going to comment out some of my squares. And if I save this and try to compile, I'm going to get some errors because these variables don't exist anymore. They're in a comment. So when I try to use these variables, it's like, you know what? Can't find window, can't find wall. So I would have to go through and every reference to window and every reference to wall I need to comment out. Now the good news is there's a pretty quick way to do this. If I go up to my edit menu and choose comment, I can take whole areas and just comment them out in mass. And I can tell wall and window and function F8 and wall and window. So instead of using my whoops, I want to be careful with that. Instead of using my mouse to go up to the menu, the function key and F8 on a Macintosh will comment them out. If you go on a PC and you look at your edit, you can also get a shortcut key. And get used to your shortcut keys. It'll make your life easier when you need to occasionally drop things out. Now, if I save this file and come back over and look at the changes, it's going to say, oh wow, yeah, there were some changes to picture.java. Things that were there, they haven't been deleted, but this dark green, those two pieces, the comment was added. So it's going to show me the changes that I made. So I'm going to call this comment out squares, preparing to make more circles. And I commit that to the master. I'm going to make a couple of circles and then come back in, but you don't need to see me typing. So just magic of video editing. Okay, so we're back. So here you can see I've added a few more circle objects, and I've changed the name of the sun to bullseye. So circle, bullseye, then the second ring, then the first ring. So bullseye, second ring, first ring, kind of coming out from the center. I modified the picture constructor to create those circle objects. And then I copied and pasted and changed the colors, yellow, blue, and magenta, and changed their sizes 80, 120, and 160. So I want to save this file. I'm going to compile it. Errors found in class. Oh, yeah, there's a problem here, and that set black and white still is referencing sun. I was working so hard on the draw class that I forgot that there was a variable that I had changed. So I'm just going to comment that out from both locations because we're not going to need to modify the object named sun anyway. The object named sun doesn't exist. And I'll come back to fix black, set black and white, and set color later. Okay, so I've resaved by using the Command S. I'm going to try to compile. Class compiled, no syntax errors. I'm going to come back over here to GitHubDesktop, and I can see that picture.java has changed, and I see some deletions and some additions. And added circle objects for bullseye, for dartboard. Okay, commit that to master. Now, maybe I should make a copy of this, or maybe I should test this. Is what I really want to do. So I am going to come back to BlueJ. I'm going to find my BlueJ window, which has gone missing. There you are. I'm going to make my picture object. There it is. I'm going to ask it to draw itself. And things didn't quite go according to plan. My purple, my magenta, the outer ring is on top, and then the blue, and then the bullseye's right there, and it doesn't seem to have worked. And what's happening, this tool is just throwing pixels on screen. It's just like, throwing paint onto a canvas. Whatever gets drawn first, what appears earlier in the class, that pixel gets drawn, and then if another pixel is painted over top of it, the other pixel is lost. So it painted a yellow circle, but then it painted a blue circle, and then it painted a larger magenta circle. So now's where I start to experiment and try to figure out where things are going. Also, the roof is still there, but I'm not going to worry about that just yet. So let me reset, come back into picture, and maybe what I want is I need to draw the first ring, and then I'll draw the second ring. And only then will I draw the bullseye. Okay. Let me see if I can recompile. Life is good. Come back over to GitHubDesktop. Change ordering of circle draws. Get that to master. Come back, make a picture object. Tell that picture to draw itself. Well, okay. Better, but also not great because I don't have them centered. But I'm on my way. And the important thing for this is I can go and I can see all of the different changes that I've made over time. I commented out squares, and there was the change. And then I added circle objects, and there was the change. And then I changed the order, and there is the change. Now, if I look closely, I'll see that I get these little icons that are like, hey, wait a second, what do these mean? Over here, it's telling me that I last fetched my copy from the GitHub server 19 minutes ago. I have 4 changes that are here on my local hard drive that don't exist up there on the server. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to come over here, and I can take a look at my commits, and 1, 2, 3, 4. And they're the same commits as these, 1, 2, 3, 4, but I have 4 new commits that haven't been pushed yet. So I'm going to push these up to the origin. Pushing, okay, there it is. Resolving the changes. Okay, let me refresh this page on the web server, and I now have 8 commits, and those are all up on the server. Now, why is this important? Well, let's say something bad happens. I'm over here, and I accidentally delete this folder. It's gone. I come over to BlueJ. It goes to compile. It doesn't even know what's going on. Fresh. BlueJ was unable to create a virtual machine to execute projects. This is a serious problem. It's a serious problem because there's nothing for it to work with. Compile, can't do it. It's very confused at this point. So I am going to quit out of BlueJ. And BlueJ was so confused that it tried to recreate the package, recreate the folder, but there's only one thing in it. So I'm going to delete that again. Now all is not lost. All I need to do, oh, I can't find Chapter 1 House Crosby student. I don't want to locate it, it's gone, but I can clone it again. So I reclone it. It's back here, and all 8 changes are there again. So now if I tell BlueJ to do its thing, and I'm sorry, my office space has been infiltrated by my cats. You might hear them in the background. An error occurred extracting the archive contents. The debug log may contain more information. Let me try to compile. Oh, look at that. It's able to compile. Let me try to draw. So we make a new picture object. We draw it again. And there is my not yet completed project. So the purpose of using GitHub for us is to begin to start to work with a professional level source code management tool. It will facilitate working in teams throughout the rest of your time in the major. It is the way professional software development teams manage code using Git and GitHub or some other tool. And it saves your bacon in times when things don't go the way you think they should. So I'm going to close BlueJ. And we're going to wrap this up. So what's going to happen is over the course of you making these changes, you're going to make a couple changes, you're going to commit. You're going to make some more changes, you're going to commit. You're going to make some more changes, you're going to commit. You're going to push these up to the GitHub server. And after the project due date passes, I will pull your project down and look at the pictures you were able to create. Also, if you run into problems, you should contact me. Make sure you've pushed your latest copy of the code up to GitHub, and I'll be able to pull your repository and see just what things you're having trouble with, and then we can make that the basis of our conversation. Okay? So, welcome to working with source code management and object-oriented programming. See you online.